Welcome to the February 23rd, 2023 meeting of the Board of Selectmen. Let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States
of America,
to the
republic
republic
for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All right. First thing we're going to do is have announcements by board members. You guys got anything?
No.
Chuck?
No?
All right. I just got one quick thing. If you got your excise,
Of course you do.
got your car excise tax bill today, you'll notice there's a new thing at the bottom, which is you can both give to the scholarship fund in addition to what's always been there, which is the elderly and disabled tax fund. If you pay your bill online, as I happen to do today, I noticed that there's also a button in the left column at the bottom where you can do the same thing. There's no pressure, but if you're in a position to help our young people with scholarships or elderly and disabled, that is how you can attest to that. And I would also add to that that if you need assistance with any of these programs, you want to apply to a scholarship, contact us and we'll give you information. All those contacts are absolutely confidential, and I know folks are sometimes sensitive about that, but I will assure you that the town staff is professional. Folks like me don't have any idea who contacts us. It's just it's a private thing. But if you need help, you should contact Town Hall. Thanks. Did you want to comment on that?
I have a question and one comment. The pen you're looking for is on the floor.
Aha, thank you.
How much money is in that scholarship fund? Do we know?
Well, I know there's at least $100.
It just started.
In May, right?
That's the first time it's shown up.
Yeah, we voted on it a while ago. This is the first time that we're capable of donating.
Anybody could have walked in off the street and donated.
Yeah, anybody can donate. Anybody can donate.
That's my question. Is anybody? No.
Yep. It's just as a convenient way to donate as an
Yeah, we gotta
addition.
get people to be on the street to walk through.
Are we going to put money in our budget to put into this fund, or is this just strictly voluntary? Because it's not going to be much of a scholarship if
What?
putting money into it.
Well, I mean, hopefully, the reason I brought it up today, but I'm happy to talk about this as long as you want, is to just encourage folks, if they have the means or if they're in a position, yeah.
What about money in the budget? Like
We'll see.
We could do that. We could do that, but that's not on the agenda tonight. So,
Not on the
we-
agenda.
but I think if you come up during any one of our budget sessions and advocate for that, I think it's a
Legally can't do that,
reasonable
can
thing.
we?
I'm not sure we can legally do it, so we'll probably preface that by saying,
It's
who
not
knows?
your public
But
comment.
let's start with charity and see how it goes. Anyways, all right. So, gentlemen, why don't y'all come up? We got some extra chairs, or bring a chair, and I just want to have kind of a discussion of the great outdoors in Stockbridge. Yeah, and you too, Ron, come on, and you too, Hugh. Because
Big outdoor.
come on, just for 5 minutes. This is going to be a quick one. Because, dinner's on the, I left the dinner on the stove. All right.
I hope it's off.
Right, exactly. I'm going to need those fires.
Because electricity's expensive.
Right. All right. So my thought is just, each of your departments has a number of initiatives and goals. And I asked Hugh to join us, and of course we have Michael here as well, to see if there's any ways to improve collaboration between everyone, but also to see if there's any town resources that you need. So I know you guys had a meeting the other day, maybe just give people a literally 2 or 3 minute walkthrough of kind of what some of the goals are, Parks and Rec, and, anything that you might need from the town. Start off.
So we're working on trying to get the parking lot finished at the beach, which should hopefully happen this spring. We're working on getting new kayak racks at the beach, hopefully moving them to a different location to make it easier to launch. Also a kayak launch on the river at Park Street, and the kayak launch also maybe up by the dam possibly. We've got benches coming, we've got more picnic tables coming, Adirondack chairs coming. So just trying to keep up with stuff. I mean, I think the tables and the Adirondack chairs and the benches were a big hit, especially during COVID when people were
Yeah.
essentially forced to be outside more than they might normally be, but
And you guys are looking at redoing the tennis courts over by Riggs?
tennis courts, yes, I believe we have money to do the fencing also, I think.
Yeah, that was part of the,
Hopefully the fencing and
all part of it.
the surface of it, and also it's not gonna be resurfaced, it's gonna be repaired, but it's gonna look like new. And the skate park surface also is gonna be repaired. So
When you say a ramp down the park, that's going to be just a stone walkway ramp, correct?
yes, much like the one at the covered bridge down in Sheffield.
Aren't you in that 50-foot wave at the skate park too, I heard? You know, kind of so people can go up and. That was a joke, everyone.
We do have some people asking if we
Yeah, I
could
know.
make the skate park, the skating area a little bit more elaborate down there, but there's,
We'll figure that out.
Yeah.
Right. And two questions for you. One is, are there any, these guys are working really hard on evaluating trees across like kind of the lake and on town property that, that is overseen by agriculture and forestry. Are there any, hemlocks, ashes or other trees in need of, kind of paying attention to the, guys know of, like really kind of specimen trees in any of the parks that we should be paying attention to? Because there's a lot, it's not just ashes and hemlocks. There's a lot of trees that are, pines and whatnot that can be treated or injected in if necessary, but if you got to get there early enough,
there aren't any hemlocks that I can think of off the top of my head in around Park Street. There's a fir at the end by the gate that stays open all the time by the boat launch, but there isn't anything. Averitt Park, I don't think so either there.
Okay. All right. I'm just kind of keeping an eye on them. And what about pickleball? Are you guys doing pickleball at the tennis courts?
I believe the pickleball is on it, yeah.
These two are lined out here
Yep.
for pickleball.
Because I've gotten asked that question by like 5 people. So if you guys want to do pickleball, you come to town hall. Those courts now have pickleball lines.
I think there was lines on the skate park also at one
It
time.
might have been at one time.
Not sure if it's gonna go back on there or not, I don't know.
And do you need special nets? I've never played, how do you know?
Well, typically pickleball is a slightly different net, but when you do the combination pickleball tennis, you use the tennis net. So
Okay.
it's set up to be a dual use court now.
Okay. So basically they don't need to bring a net or anything. They just let you show up and.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
the same thing with down at Pine.
Okay.
It'll also be lined for both pickleball. And then one of the things we might look at is whether or not we can put pickleball lining for the gym for winter use.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Yep.
Okay.
And the geodome will be reinstalled.
The monkey bars,
Monkey
bars.
bars.
It's actually
good.
called geodome.
It is?
okay.
Yeah.
Is that the one that got crushed by
Geodome
the?
climbing structure that was taken
Yeah.
by a tree. Did it get delivered today?
Not yet.
Not yet? All right. It was supposed to be estimated delivery date was February 23rd. So that was today. But
And then you're also putting in a ping pong table up on the stage, the old stage of the, over here?
We're purchasing a ping pong table. Somebody else is placing it. That's not, the building is not
Okay.
ours. It's
All right.
somebody else's.
we'll be figuring that out.
We'll figure it out. All right, excellent. How are you guys doing?
I do not have
Drew,
as many
agriculture and
fun
forestry?
toys.
You got a farmer's market coming. That's about as fun as it gets for us old people.
And Shelby's online, I see, so he can jump in if I forget anything. But this year, we're working on town forestry stewardship plans. We actually have a meeting tomorrow to go hike through one of our forests to get a sense of it, because we're just starting to wrap our heads around what we actually have in the town.
Is that open to the public? I saw it was posted.
It's posted to the public so everyone knows. It's a kind of a rugged hike because it's not actually public trails or anything like that. So we're going to go up there, and then we'll have another summary meeting to sum up what we saw as we hike. Then we have continued monitoring of invasive species, like the woolly adelgid, continued treatment of Ice Glen, and just keeping an eye on the ash borer. And we've been working closely with COMCOM to make recommendations for how to treat trees on your land. what the symptoms are to watch out for and what to do in case of replacement needs. And particularly we're looking at properties around the bowl, around the watersheds, and making sure people know that they have to go to the COMCOM, especially if you're in a watershed. So we're hoping to have recommendations over the course of the year as we have more meetings to come forward with that. And then, like you said, farmers market, we're hoping we've sent out a call for people to come and apply for farmers market manager. I don't know. We got one.
Yeah.
So we'll be looking into that and hopefully have a 4 to 6 week farmers market towards the end of the summer to get us rolling, get us started.
Did we fund that? Yeah, I thought we tabled the fund.
I thought we did.
Well, we did, right, I have
For the
money to
manager.
take it out this year, but we'd be putting in money for next year.
Okay.
But it was money from this year, we were gonna take on the undesignated line in the budget, there's an undesignated line.
I don't think I'll have any problem getting funding, but I just wanted to make sure it was funded.
No, I remember we did.
Yeah, and that, I think is gonna go a long way to really compete with other farmers markets.
Yeah, Ron just asked what day of the week.
Well,
Probably the biggest challenge right now, and I had a long talk with the person that's interested, and I'll send it to you tomorrow.
Yeah.
The name, but very interesting, person, because, yeah, there's a lot of these questions, we're not even, one of the things is, this person will have to determine, is it even feasible? What day, what time, is it gonna compete with other farmers markets? Are there enough farmers out there that can?
Right.
So right now is almost, the next year or two is gonna be, can we create one that's
We're
sustainable?
trying to find one that's not competing against,
Yeah.
like a Thursday or.
Stockbridge,
Come on.
Friday, Lennox, Friday, Lennox?
Saturday, Great Barrington.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think what
He has a big one Saturdays. He's got a real big one on Saturdays.
And that's why I think, for this first one, we said we're gonna set a very simple 4 to 6 week layout. So the farmers don't have to commit to an entire season. It's also, since it is funded, we aren't charging farmers. So we're trying to go from a really competitive way to say like, you're gonna be right on Main Street, downtown. We're gonna figure out a good time that works for everybody, and really try to compete. So it's not gonna be like, size of Great Barrington right off the bat.
It'd be nice to, and this, whoever you put on, to set that 4 to 6 weeks in the heart of the harvest season.
Exactly,
Because then they have farmers have extra product to.
right. Not trying to make it a challenge for them, not trying to make it like a long farmer's market that they have to come for 8 hours or
It's
anything
hard to
like that.
sell in April when the product's not there, but it's easy to sell in July and August when your garden's overflowing.
Exactly.
It's my understanding that the Great Barrington one is very difficult to get into,
Yeah,
which might be helpful. Because I'm sure there's a lot of people who would want to get in the Great Barrington one that just can't.
oh,
They
exactly.
want some alternative.
Well, and I think too, that's where we have, we're a little bit more competitive where, since we are still fresh and new, having it potentially on the grounds of the town hall up front, with parking on a late night when someone's coming home to make dinner or something, that can just stop in and grab some veggies. We're kind of blessed with the flexibility right now, and since we don't have a rigid time frame. So we give a person and we can start having meetings and start really hammering out the fine details, and make it easy for the farmers who want to get in there and sell their stuff so that they're in and out and not wasting their time.
So you came up with a location.
Hopefully it'll be on the grounds here, which we just have to hammer out.
Because I would like to see it back where the Little League field was, because we took the fencing all out. It's all open there now.
I'm down
Right,
to
that's why
talk.
we're meeting together. That's why we're meeting together.
That sounds great to me, but, so we should actually put it on our agenda if you could come and we could chat.
I mean, the other potential is directly in front, if it's smaller to begin, just so people see it from the street and the rest, but.
And then as we
you know,
grow,
As it grows, right, it would be.
We just start wrapping around the.
it'll be right. But,
We can grow the product in the field and then sell it on Main Street.
wow, I love how this just keeps growing bigger and bigger by the second, but,
Highway department can do a garden out there, right? Sell the stuff?
Yeah.
I was thinking on top of the salt shed, if we do a flat roof, people can drop their trash off and then go and lift up to the, top of the salt shed and, you'll have a little garden up there. Yeah, it'd be great. Anyways, that was a joke, everyone. These are mostly just, we're in a good mood today.
Composting,
so how-
you guys kicked around the idea of doing like a community composting?
In my head, yes. I can't say we have brought it up in the committee yet, but it's definitely something I've thought about for the agricultural committee. And
I keep pushing Abby to do it at school and she's, we're too busy, we can't do it. But there's so much waste in the school that you would think.
well, I think
Come up with a way to do it and you'd be able to use it, but.
I think that's the biggest, and not, I don't want to take this meeting up because we're not.
No, it's fine.
But there's definitely a lot of possibilities that I see in a lot of other communities who are doing composting in very unique ways that I think it would be manageable for us.
Well, I
To
think
do.
it's 2030 or 2035 where they're going to want, the goal of the state is to get organics out of the trash. So you wouldn't be able to dump your organics at transfer.
Taking everything else out of the trash, but you still
It's gonna be the trash place, but yeah.
So how communities are going to do it, how they're going to compost it, how they're going to do the rest is.
I'm putting it on the agenda. I got it.
Good.
So thank you.
How long out before you see positive and negative results from the treatments of ice cream?
That's good. I think we're going to have to set up a time to actually have another report done and summed up. I know
It's early stages.
it's early stage.
Year, 2 years, 3 years,
Well, and I think the,
to know if we're fighting a downhill battle.
I know when Ken went in there in between when we found it, before we got to treatment, already a handful, I don't want to put a number on it, but a handful of trees had already looked like they died.
Yeah, but that was afterwards, before we treated.
That was before we got to the treatment. So I think it'd be good for him to get back in there, do a reassessment once we've used all the funds and treated.
I think he's got to be assessing that every year, Matt. I mean, honestly, we need to, because we treated the ashes, the fall of 21 or spring of 22? I think it was the fall of 21.
I think it was fall.
It's nice
All
to
right,
know.
so it's already time because it was only $5,000 to treat them, but that only lasts like a couple of years.
Right.
And those things will die like that if they're not protected because it eats them this way.
Yeah.
And that was a scientific term. So I think we've got the money in the budget now. I think the assessment is ongoing and you don't need to come back for.
Well,
I mean, correct me if you guys say I'm wrong, but I think we should be doing the assessment
That's gotta
every
be
year.
a big part of it.
well, I think, yeah, because I don't want to move forward without getting the data because
If it's not working, then we're throwing money away. If it is working, then we got to
Then we're
really
good.
push it to keep moving.
And I think that, the trickiest thing about that was, the reason it's an old growth forest in that section is because it's hard to access. That's why it was left. So, I think that goes into the treatment that, it was hard to treat it too, to get in there, pack in, stuff like that. So once we treated everything we had planned on, then we can do the assessment after, because otherwise, if he doesn't know which ones were treated and not treated, it's hard to really assess.
But we geotagged them. We know exactly which trees have been treated.
Yeah, but to make it easy on him so that we see the forest as a whole, to make sure that, we treated the forest.
And this one I'm not saying now,
Yeah.
but just, I think we need to really do
Right.
a really intensive follow-up.
Yeah.
Make sure that.
Are they only geotagged or is there,
Every single tree was geotagged.
is there
I've got a map online. I
actually placed on the tree so that when people are up in there, they could see that, they're working on trying to take care of these?
Not, to my understanding, no, that they didn't tag every individual tree besides the geotag. Basically, from what I understand, they got in there, did as many as they could. Weather, uptake, capacity of the trees, they weren't able to do as many as they could before the season shut out on them.
Did we spray some?
So this season, no, as far as I know.
Well, we did. Did we spray some of them? The ones we couldn't get for ejection?
Did some.
Yeah.
There's still some, so I'll be coordinating with Ken on that, and I can coordinate with him on doing another assessment.
Yeah.
We have the money set aside, so.
Yeah.
Oh,
We got the USDA grant.
And we have the USDA. So
Yeah.
And I mean,
most of it done.
I would defer to Ken too on whenever he wants to do the assessment. Like
Yeah.
if he's ready to go.
He's a guy who, you gotta be a bit of a squeaky wheel though. You gotta kind of stay on him and get scheduled early, but let's schedule it. And also I think everyone should recognize that the strategy around the hemlocks, because it's a slow death, is very different than the strategy around the ashes, where it's much cheaper to try to treat them. They're much more accessible. And we'll know real, Ken told me 6 months ago that we hadn't lost a single ash. A couple of them came down because of the severe weather, but we hadn't lost any to ash borer. And then we treated like 50 of these giant ash trees. They were this big. So I think we want to just have a strategy around the ashes that's a little bit more, TLC, because we can't screw, that one is one where we got to stay on it because it kills them so fast, Anyways. Ron Berkeley.
You over there by yourself.
Hey, we actually had a site visit today on the northwest side of the bowl. And all the hemlock trees were buggy, to say the least. So when we go on site visits, there's a couple of us just walk over to the hemlock trees and flip it over.
Yeah.
It's really bad on Rattlesnake Mountain Road too.
And are we letting the homeowners know? And one of the questions I have for you guys is, do we want to kind of do an informal consult to just not tell people how to fix it, but tell people what some resources are, or how often they would need to have them checked, or, some foresters that we could recommend of who to be working with. I'm just wondering if homeowners know that we kind of figured this out at Ice Glen. Do they know we figured it out?
Well, I think if I may, we had two really good collaborative meetings with the Concon and got some experts in. And I think the last one we had, we're hopefully gonna have a pamphlet / recommendations, because we don't need to recreate the wheel. There's already a lot of information out there. We're hoping by the town meeting, we'll have access to a rack and have access to pamphlets to be printed out, so people can at least get the information from when everyone's gathering together. And with the new town website, hopefully have a web page set up. So that's part of our next couple of meetings, to talk about what information, links to put up there for the homeowners. Because like Ron said, it's everywhere.
Right. And to just reiterate, when Ken and that guy, Bob Leverett, first came out in February 21, they said if we didn't treat those trees, they'd be dead in 2 to 3 years. It has been 2 years. So if this is something you guys care about, who are homeowners out there, you need to get right on it, because if the same amount of disease is in the rest of the trees in town, we're already 2 years past when they told us the hemlocks would all be dead. 2 years into that 2 to 3 year window when they said they'd all be dead. And so now is the time to figure it out. Now we can always come up with a replanting plan with other species or whatever, but if you want to save them, you should have people looking at it with haste, Anyway, keep going.
For the site visit, whoever's the homeowner's representative, we mention it to them. Very rarely do we meet a homeowner.
Yeah, of course, right.
Maybe in the town report, mention this.
Right.
In the town report for the Concom, I did not mention anything about trees and that sort of stuff, because we now have a forestry and agricultural.
Yeah.
I only submitted mine today, so it's time to edit it if you need to. The only other thing I'll point out is the treatment window is in spring and in fall. So if you're thinking about this as something that's important to you for your trees, maybe don't wait till July, because you might lose some. It's best is spring, the second best is fall, but you can't really treat them in the summer,
Usually we have discussions about landscaping, especially around the bowl and all the houses that are right up to the water's edge. And we don't even discuss planting hemlocks anymore.
Yeah.
We try to do native species. That's always the discussion. We try to plant as many trees as we can get on the property. It's so tough because you go and all of a sudden they got a big, nice view of the lake. But it's not a recent view of the lake. It's 10 years, whatever. So if we can, we work a few trees into the lakefront. That's been a big push on our part.
What are some of the replacement species you guys are recommending?
We don't really have one for the hemlocks. I mean, you could put arborvitaes in there, but the deer are gonna eat them faster than they do the hemlocks. And there's a lot of deer around the lake.
Yeah, from our meeting that we had with was it Peter Grime and Jess Toro? They said it's not a 1-to-1. You can't just replace a hemlock with X, another evergreen. So one recommendation that we'll hopefully be taking on more of is you want to plant 2 to 3 different types of trees, because you're just not going to get the same benefit as the hemlock does. And just a side note too, I want to be careful about saying treatment too, because I think one thing that we thought of when we thought of Ice Glen was treating it made sense because it was so far away from water sources. So especially when we talk about the bowl or any watershed, a lot of the treatments or chemicals that they're used for this are very water soluble. So we can't throw around.
Can you inject it with?
No,
less rice?
it's still potentially water soluble, even if you're mixing the chemicals. So just, that's one thing you got to be very careful about depending where people are located.
Yeah.
And these are bugs that are killing them?
Yeah, little midges.
Are there any?
They're tiny.
Do they have any predators?
No, they are from Japan from 1959, first arrived in Virginia, no native insect preys on them. The thing that's been keeping them away from us is the frost line. Our zone has been generally cold.
Well, that's the problem now it's not.
That's why people say they've seen a hemlock that has survived for so long, is because you might have gotten an infestation, but we had a really cold winter that would kill them. Now the winters aren't cold enough, so they're living longer into the winter, surviving the winter and reproducing all winter, or surviving all winter and then to reproduce 100 times in the spring.
Yeah.
So
This may not kill all the hemlock trees.
yeah.
The Dutch elm disease did not kill all the elm trees. There's going to be a small percentage that survive, and maybe that percentage will be genetically immune to this invasive pest, maybe not. So if people say, oh, they're going to die, we say, no, you got to show us more than that. The premise that they're going to die before you take these trees down.
All right.
I got a few elms on the property, and
Especially when they, right in front of their picture window, and there's a lake, and say, oh, this tree's going to die.
Within a couple of years.
Yeah.
Yeah, they spliced a wheat gene into a single wheat gene into chestnuts and have given them resistance from the chestnut, Dutch elm. Was that chestnut? Not elm. Obviously. What attacks the chestnuts? It's a
blight.
A blight. Yeah. Well, they've got now a engineered one.
Modified.
Yeah. Yeah. They're expecting to get approved this year. So who knows? Maybe we can plant chestnuts. Give everybody a nut to eat.
Also, when we're talking about parks, the little Interlaken Park, where the dam's gone,
Averick?
yeah, that would take some DEP work, but it might be something you want to think about in the future too. We would have to oversee or look at it too and write it off, but
What kind of work are you talking about?
it's, the dam's breached. That little park,
yeah, it's been a long time.
it's been quite a few years and it's just getting worse.
That's,
And the pool of water is basically full too. I
Yeah.
heard it used to be a swimming hole there, and
Now you can wade out into it.
yeah, so it's about 3 feet or more.
that should be our issue.
Well, it's parks.
Yeah, but I mean, something like that, I think we should get involved in that.
Yeah, but
And is it
it's gonna
above
take,
the park?
Pardon?
The dam above the park or below the?
Well,
It's on the side.
it divides the brook.
Okay.
That's why there's two dams or two bridges going across that road.
Because the old mill is there.
Yeah. And it breached, it washed around one of the dam walls and working into the bank, and pretty soon the new bridge that we put in there won't have water under it anymore because it's all gonna go one direction instead of dividing it, that little pond. And unfortunately, the bridge got fixed. It's not the one that's gonna have the water on it.
Still a gap, even if it's a dry bed, but yeah, okay.
But, you know, that's something that I drive by it all the time.
So what needs to happen there? Do we need to take the rest of the dam out? Is it something?
I don't know. That's engineering. That's, the
Okay,
state would have to get involved in that, but you gotta ask them first, you know.
of course. Thoughts, Michael? Anything on breach dams? While you're at it, can you fix the one in the Houstonic in South Lee?
We'll have to look
Half
at,
of all the dams in Berkshire
have to look
County
into that.
are dangerous. They had one dot in Stockbridge. Which dam was that?
That's
It was the fair one. That was fair. It was not a problem.
Stockbridge Bowl.
That the one that,
But remember, the state does not consider a breached dam to be a dam. So as soon as a dam is breached, it comes off the list of tracking. So for example, there's some dams on the Houstonic River just upstream from us that are not considered by the state to be dams because they consider them to be breached. So, just saying.
so that may not be a,
That's not on the list because if it's breached,
Cedar Lake Park may not be a dam anymore.
yeah.
So does that mean we just take it out?
Oh, God, no.
I wouldn't say that either.
let us look into it. Give us some time.
Yeah. Yeah.
So as for the Concom, we're not looking for more work. We're busy all the time with new developments and repairs and expansions and new homes and tear downs and build ups and,
Yeah, it starts here and then you get it. We know.
special permits. What we have done, and you're aware of it, about, well, it was called at one time performance standards, but that may be, the name of that may be changed. This is the last version of what we expect to accomplish when a RDA comes to us, okay? And that's what people should expect from us. It's in the final stages. When we get the final okay from the legal, we'll give everybody a copy, you can look at it. That's been in the works for
2 years.
And the idea of a performance standards is pretty straightforward, which is to let people know up front what the expectations are.
Exactly.
And that hopefully lowers people's costs. It also increases communication and it helps people from getting surprises, when they actually get to the
And it
permit.
also helps people, they're gonna have a project. They say, oh, we'll knock that down and build it. Well, that's not quite how it works. There's a little more to it than that. If they have something like that to look at, they might realize that there's gonna be some more expense plus engineering plus the whole one after the other type thing. But it's gonna be good to have. It'll be a guideline for us as well as anybody that's coming around looking for work. I had a whole bunch of these.
And how's the conservation agent working now?
Pardon?
How is the conservation agent
That's a
working now?
plus.
That's a plus? All right.
It's, actually, it didn't start out that way, but it worked out better. We were looking for somebody to follow us around after we gave permits, to make sure things were being done. Sometimes we go for a certificate of compliance and we go, this is not what we okay. So we were hoping to keep a finger on it as it progressed. Now we're being a little more diligent ourselves. Dave Cameron's excellent. He knows his stuff. We consult him whenever we have a question. We go to a site visit and there's legal from the applicants there. We're gonna have him look at it or call our legal. We don't want to be outgunned right from the start. A lot of times it's It's absolutely fine, and everybody understands what they're doing and what we're looking for. And that works good. But there's the occasion where if legal's there, something's a little fishy. You show up with a lawyer at the site visit to explain why this should go through.
That actually happens?
Oh, lots of times. You know, you shouldn't have any objection to this. Well, if you say so, but.
All right.
So-
It's a signal.
Yeah, it's our backup. It's somebody that's dealt with these type of questions for years. We get one of these questions once every 4 or 5 years. He probably gets, and when he was working for the state, he probably got 2 or 3 of them
Right, right.
a month.
And how has, and this question is much for you, how has the budget kept up and too much, too little, or just about right?
It's worked well. So what we do is we have them on a monthly retainer.
Yeah, I know. I'm just wondering if it's adequate.
And so far, it's on most months. Right now, it's a little slower, so it actually, for the first time, triggered the retainer as the minimum. Before that, they've actually used above, but we had a cushion of 5,000
Okay.
above the retainer.
But looking at the next fiscal year, are we thinking it stays about the same or?
We're in good shape.
Okay, good.
Yep.
That's what,
No
good.
limitations, no nothing on the use of it. Remember, we also, if we go over just a little bit, that's why we have a $150,000 reserve.
Yeah, I know.
So, but so far that budget line looks,
If he doesn't come to the meeting, he's on Zoom, and if we have a question then, it's resolved right off the bat, or we discuss it at the next meeting. Some of the stuff, it's better to continue than to
Right,
jump right in.
good.
The only other thing that we've got going, and this was in color, but my copier machine. Has anybody seen this?
I can give them copies.
All right, it's a resident's guide to wetland protection in Stockbridge.
Excellent.
It's kind of like a handout, or will be a handout. We probably will have it online as well. This is so when people come to Ned's office, if that's where they come, a lot of them do it online now, I guess they don't even come to the office. They get a copy of this, or they can look at a copy of this. And it's upside down. It tells them what's jurisdictional, why are wetlands protected, what activities require a permit, how we can find out if my proposed activity is in a wetland, what are the penalties for violations of these laws, and how can I get more information? And this is
It's great.
a rough general handout that they shouldn't have too many questions after, and if they do have a question, now they know where to go and what to ask. There won't be as many surprises. People can't say, oh, we never heard of that before. You will now.
Good. Anybody from the public have any questions for these gentlemen or anybody on the panel? No? Nobody? All right. You guys are all doing such a great job and everybody on your board, you know, the meetings I get to see, it's just so impressive. And the fact that you're all working together is really impressive. Just thank you so much. It's just really great that we have so many awesome volunteers. Yeah. So, all right. Thanks. Thanks, Hugh. So now you got what, the 8 till 2 a.m. shift that you're going on now? Yeah. All right.
Okay.
See you later. Thanks. All right. So the next thing on the agenda is a discussion, really just an overview, top level overview of the fiscal 2024 budget. We haven't actually seen this yet in terms of this board. So we're going to just let Michael talk a little bit. I don't think there's going to be many surprises, at least not in the operation and capital budgets this year. So we're going to just start off today with a very top level overview, have a chance to look at things and pick it up sometime in March. So Michael, why don't you take it away?
All right.
And you're going to have to blow it up on the screen.
Yep.
Because
So as Patrick stated, this budget, so everything was due in the 15th by the departments.
You might have to go a little bigger.
Right now, we've, that's probably, I don't know how much bigger I can get.
No, that's fine. We'll get copies pretty soon.
Yeah, all right.
So, everything was in, I was supposed to finish up with Hugh this morning or this afternoon on his, so that got delayed. So other than highway, which we're not expecting any major changes, but I've already put in like employee, because we already have a union contract and the rest. Let me see how much more I can.
That's all right.
Sorry. I was gonna say, because right now they can't see you anyways, so you can get as close as you.
So why don't you just, so top line, let me ask you just a couple of top line questions.
Sure.
What does the budget show currently as the sort of overall growth of the budget?
Sure. So right now, the initial picture of the budget is,
It's only 300,000 above where we are already?
yes,
Okay.
246,000.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
200.
So that's the initial. Let me just check something. Yeah, so. Yes, 300,000 increase.
All right. And you were saying that you mentioned that the last year education went up 450, but this year it's only going up 45?
85.
85.
80.
Okay. So, and that had to do with, we're dropping from 117 to 113, is that right?
Yeah.
I'm sure it is, actually. Okay.
So, general government is 16,000, public safety is 98,000, most of that is around wages. Education's up 85,000, public works and facilities, once again, 42,000, a lot of that is wage increases. Human services, culture is up 27, human services, 27, cultural recreation, 25. Debt service is up 23, employee benefits is down 847, and unclassified is up 13,000. The unclassified is our health, is our general liability insurance, and that's just a place, it hasn't been finalized by Maya yet, but I have a placeholder in there of 7%, which I took from the most recent meetings.
And Michael, what is the salary bump that we're looking at?
So I have in here a 2.5% COLA, cost of living adjustment. That's something that we can look at further as we dig into some of these numbers. And the fact is, as everything came in on the 15th, which was, only last Wednesday, and then with a number of things going on, this is just the initial request from all the departments. So this is no pushback, no digging yet in. So before the next meeting, I'll be digging into this, looking at where we need. So one of the things that I picked up right away on, and I'll just point it out right now, is when we took up the debt service on for the $4 million to do the infrastructure, because we tried to move as quickly as we could to get the best interest rates we could, we actually ended up with, even though they didn't put any payments until this fiscal year, because we didn't have any in last fiscal year, but we went so soon that technically there should have been debt payments. So we have 3 debt payments in this year. So I'm going to recommend that we take $100,000 from free cash to pay down the interest on the $4 million for just this first year, because there's an extra payment of, I think it's $98,000. So it would be a 1-year bump and then off, but it was because we took it out so quickly at the start of the year, just to get, like I said, we wanted to make sure we got the best interest rates. So,
So why don't you just take 2 seconds and just review the difference between reserve fund stabilization and free cash?
yeah, I can.
I got literally 30 seconds each.
So let me,
We don't need to see the numbers, just so that when you throw out those terms, people understand what you're talking about.
yeah, well, so
Ooh, A pie chart.
Yeah. So your stabilization accounts are the money, this is money that we actually have set aside in actual bank accounts. So that money is secured.
Under a
money
mattress?
That we have that's available to us to be used. In addition, our other reserves are, we have free cash, which right now our free cash is 2.6 million. That's higher than it should, but there's been a lot of reports out there of a lot of communities during COVID. A lot of anticipation was that things would get slashed, additional money that came in by the feds to cover things. Everything else has caused a bump in the free cash. OPEB is our other post-employment benefits. We have a trust fund set up that's protecting the town for that. Cemetery has the Cemetery Perpetual Care Fund, which is quite a bit lower than it's been in the previous years, but that's because we made a major improvement.
Didn't you do the repairs
You've been using
this
it.
year?
We're actually using it.
Using it,
yes.
yeah.
Okay.
Should have fit in there.
Yep. ARPA, we still have at the start right here, 382,000. The overlay surplus we had last year, but that was used up to cover the revalve. So that won't be in play this year. Then we have the water and sewer surplus. And then I also added now what we have in chapter 90 available.
What's
So
water,
chapter 90 is the money that we get in for road improvements.
what's water and sewer surplus?
So those are surpluses that are generated through the water and sewer accounts.
Oh,
So that can be used for capital purchases and the rest.
In fact, we're going to do some of that this year.
Yes,
Right.
we're gonna do quite a bit of that. So there's no change this year to our debt schedule. Last year, out of that stabilization, we have 1.2 million of it set aside to pay off this building if the school budget was to come on
Right.
sooner than anticipated. Right now, this building's gonna fall off in fiscal year 27. But anytime in the next 3 years, there's a chance that the school could come on, and we don't want to have this building and the school on. So at town meeting last year, we set aside a dedicated account, that money to protect the town in case there was a shift.
That's part of stabilization.
That's part of the stabilization.
okay.
So
Question I have, quick question. So is the money for those debt payments that we put aside, is that also budgeted in the budget?
it's budgeted in the, yes, so if the school doesn't come forward in 24, 25, or 26, then that money becomes free to be used for any other purpose.
Okay. But we don't have to. We could just,
Yeah.
continue the plan to pull it out of stabilization if we wanted to, because we already got that approved.
Right, you could, but
I'm
then,
not saying we should.
you're gonna get the increase.
Yeah, no, I got it.
That comes off, so the idea was just a smoothing effect, and
Okay.
this would allow the school debt to come on. Free
Now,
cash.
the three,
request-
before you go on, the 3.7 million in OPEB, does that pay the retirement costs?
No. It protects the town because it's a liability that, and generally the OPEB came in for businesses, so if a business went out of business, that money was set aside to cover the costs of other post-employment benefits that were entitled to retirees. So when you saw a company close down their doors, this money had to be set aside by it. Some municipalities have set it aside. It does create a better bond rating for your company. Other municipalities have not. There's different feelings on whether you should have a trust or shouldn't have a trust, what's the benefits and gains and the rest. Ultimately, if the town of Stockbridge failed, there would be money in there to cover the legal requirements beyond the life.
So we budget for our other post-employment benefits out of the general budget, but we've also put money aside in case, we go bankrupt or something.
This was going a long time. It took us a long time to get
Took a
this
long
up.
time.
Yeah.
And
So
we're
it
about one of
allows-
the only towns that
There's
are
only a handful of towns. that are
100%
fully funded.
invested, yeah.
So
We're
technically, we're
really good on
now,
this.
well, we were at 103 last year, but we're actually at 96% this year because the stock market overall
Yeah.
has lost value on our account. So
This was a.
whether we allow
was-
this to carry on, as far as the money's there, it's set aside now, it protects us. And if you ever get above the 100%, like if you get up far enough, you can actually start using the proceeds that are above 100% of your requirements to fund some of your retirement costs of your actual budget.
That's good.
So last year we were at 103, but now this year, because of the stock market, we're not.
So why aren't we pulling it out? Because anytime we go over at 100, you can't pull it out under 100, but
So,
Yeah, I would say it's one of those things, if you're just barely above 100, you're not
Why
going to
bother?
touch it. But if you start seeing where this account to
Not enough,
fall,
okay.
you might want to consider it. So, free cash requests, so far, the free cash requests, we have the 100,000 I want to take to pay down that interest payment. The fire department's put in for new turnout gear. And then the other one that's not on here because we're waiting for the estimates to come in, is that's going to be, we're looking at a large scale paving project throughout the town. So, to use chapter 90 funds,
right.
of which we have 654,000, and then match with a good chunk of free cash money to try to do as many roads. Now, one thing that's being done right now with water, sewer and highway is they're evaluating what streets within the next 3 to 5 years they think they're going to need to pick up to do some repairs to what, because the last thing you want to do is repave a road and then have to rip it back up. So we're in the process of putting that together, and we're going to have it together in the next couple of weeks, so.
And I don't know much about paving, but did paving have some of those like, supply shocks in terms of pricing, with supply chain issues and all that? And my question really is, do we expect the prices to come down? Are we at the top of that market?
Now, prices have actually already come down to the high that they were
The bulk
last
of
spring.
the rise and fall of asphalt, it's the oil.
Right.
Stone and sand is very, very available. They make it in Westfield, they make it here, they make it in Lee. It's the original asphalt that
Right.
goes up and down like a yo-yo.
If you remember, originally, we were gonna go out with chapter 90 fund and do paving last spring.
And we hauled it.
Last spring, it had actually hit the high, and I forget what it is, 800, and the state has a thing, but it's not late, it's 880. It got to 880, and before that was like 425. It had doubled in cost.
Where's that now?
Now it's down at 5 something.
Oh, good. Okay, so it's already gotten better.
Still higher than it was.
You'll hit 6 something a gallon, that's,
Yeah,
goes into your asphalt.
right. So right now, everything right now looks pretty good as far as the prices. I mean, like I said, it's not as low as it was, but it's not at the highs that it was last
It won't come
spring.
down low.
And we would have,
They never come down low as it
It'll
was.
never
Nothing's
come
come
down
down to low where it
Right.
was.
so this number by the next time, hopefully we'll have this by mid-March, this number to put in. So we're working on it right now. We're finalizing it. I met with Highway, Water and Sewer yesterday, and this was primarily what we were discussing was which roads can we do, which ones should we wait on?
Right.
And we'll finalize that and then come up with an overall price and then get this out to bid and get it moving forward, so.
So we also talked about maybe looking at putting some amount possibly into like kind of a dredging, say, reserve fund, you want to talk about that?
If that's right, do we want to start, you have, with one of the things that you can do with free cash is you can appropriate. So one of the things you could appropriate it into is what's called a dedicated stabilization account. So if you wanted to start setting some money aside toward dredging, that would be an option. Once you put it into a dedicated stabilization fund, the great news is that that money's guaranteed to be there. On the other hand, it takes a 2/3 vote to appropriate from stabilization. The stabilizations are your savings accounts. So take that into consideration when you're putting things in. But free cash is calculated every year. So every year, July 1st, your free cash is 0 until it's certified. There are things that can go against your free cash that can lower your free cash, such as a couple of years ago, we had some procurement issues over a state grant. The Larry Wog one. The state could have held that $1 million against our free cash, which would have significantly lowered our free cash.
They won't be able to do that.
Never assume you're going to have free cash. You try to generate free cash, but you're trying to generate it, not.
When
Yeah.
When will we ever have a estimate of dredging?
yeah,
So we've been meeting monthly now with the dredging, and one of the things was bringing a dredging company in to do an estimation. So we're hoping to have that soon.
Yeah, that'd be the first step, I think, why we're both putting money away, I'd like to know
Yeah, well, just
where
remember,
we're at, how much we need.
just because you put money in a dedicated stable account for that, town meeting can always change the use of that money, can appropriate that money, or can release that money back to the general stabilization. So there's a
It'd just
couple,
be nice to have a number to shoot for us to say.
All right, but it's a lot. I think it's we're looking at something like 4 million, right? I mean, that will include the SVA, restricted donations, but still it could be a net of 2 million, 2.5. And I believe SVA's plan on doing more fundraising hopefully. But it's going to be a heavy lift. And one of the reasons I like doing a little bit, even if it's just a couple 100,000, is it gets us talking about dredging and gets the feel of the room at town meeting. So that, we know, because we're spending, how much this year we're going to spend? Several $100,000, right? So let's get a feel for the room to make sure that the room supports this, but.
And so we have not decided who's paying what portion of dredging. Is that true? Okay.
you don't even have final number. You had some number
We don't have
estimates.
any numbers.
A number of years ago, there were some estimates thrown out, but those are, yeah, those numbers all need to be refigured and recalculated and everything else. Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Good. Let me see what else there is here. I don't have the CPC, actually, I don't have those in yet into our capital items because they haven't met to finalize theirs. Monday, I believe it is.
Michael, I actually think we're at a good stopping point. You've given us a pretty good overview, some stuff to think about. You're going to get us these spreadsheets in the next couple of days?
You're gonna get these tomorrow.
All right.
So I was finishing when Jamie showed up.
My sense is let's let the finance committee, they're going to get the same things. And I think Jay told me they're having a meeting, next Wednesday or so?
Next Thursday.
Next Thursday. And then, I think I'd like to suggest that we add a March 16th meeting, tentatively, maybe just talk about the budget. Maybe we can wait till the 23rd. I just feel like depending upon what comes out of the finance committee, I don't want to wait a whole month. So.
It's okay. I think that's
We also could
reasonable.
look at a joint meeting at some point too.
Yeah, so
Have a joint meeting.
we want to just do a joint meeting, so why don't we try to shoot for a joint meeting with the finance committee on March 16th?
All right.
March, okay,
Yeah, I mean,
okay.
yeah, because I really think that we can quickly kind of wrap this up and get it, keep our focus. Yeah. All right. Anybody in the public, once you let's put that away and see if the public has any comments and move on to public comment. Anybody have any comments on either the budget or just a general public comment?
How about,
Oh, wait, do we have other things? Oh, yeah, sorry, hold that thought. Well, first of all, does anybody have any comment on the budget discussion before we move on? Nope, hearing none. All right. Take action on change of officers, directors, LLC managers with the trustees of reservations. Namke, what's going on there?
You just need to approve their change of manager.
Yeah, but what is the change?
It should be right in, did you have?
Is it in the packet?
We didn't have a packet.
Patrick had already.
I think I have a sign here. It must be that.
Yeah, it's just,
Yeah, so it's, no, this is alcohol and beverage one.
yeah.
Okay, yeah, but I didn't know there was a change in officer. Anyway, motion to approve the change in officer for Namkeg.
I'll second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right, we gotta sign it. So I just signed it. On to you. And let's see, we got, any public comment? Hearing none. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
Those in favor? Aye. Yay.
Aye.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.